What's up, gamers? It's I, the People's Machine, coming back with another episode, a long overdue episode of the Gaming Roundtable. And while I do have Elite Dangerous Horizon sitting in my background, just kind of chilling with my ship and my character and my nearly 500,000 credits, and I've been playing this a lot lately, I have not made a video since the Dragon Dogma one, which I hope you checked out. And if you did check it out, then you were checking out Unpaid Gamers on YouTube. That's Unpaid Gamers. Please check out Posthuman Guy. Subscribe to his channel there on Unpaid Gamers. He's doing the Let's Streams and the car talks. And me and him are going to get together and do a table talk discussion here real soon. And please check out the former Ban Loss and his awesome Apex Legends gameplay. He is still the man, the myth, the Apex Legend. Check him out on his channel. And of course, check out me, the People's Machine, broadcasting here from my living room on the PS5, here with a new episode of the Gaming Roundtable. And this is Table Talk for June 18th, 2023. As always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications when we broadcast videos, and you will be up to date as soon as possible. A few notes real quick about me. I am no longer employed where I was employed. I left, and I am now working third shift at another company, making a little bit more money. And it's been quite an adjustment, especially with my relationship. With my fiance still working day shift, and now I'm on nights. I've had to adjust. I've been doing it the past 2 weeks. I'm still not fully used to staying up all night. It's been a long time. It's much easier when I was younger, and now it's a lot harder. It's approximately 6:48 in the morning. Pretty early for me to be broadcasting, I know. But technically, it's daytime for you, but this is my nighttime. And I'm having a nice, tall, cold 24 ounce of Steel Reserve. $2, no holler beer. It's a beer that I've grown to love and got a taste for, even though it is kind of like a bag of ass. But I love it. And this is my nights, and so I'm going to drink a little bit, and I want to do a little bit of a table talk discussion real quick about something that's been on my mind for a little bit. And I thought about this, interestingly enough, taking a shower. It kind of popped in my head. And I was like, you know what? I need to figure this out. I'm gonna move this around a little bit just in case it decides to go into the game or go back. So here's the deal. This table talk, I want to discuss developers out there who are developing games, and I'm going to focus primarily on the really big companies. And you know me, I talk a lot of shit about Ubisoft, even though I own a bunch of their games. And EA is another one I'm going to talk about as a publisher, Ubisoft publisher, and they're both developers because they do have tandem there. I want to talk about Bethesda, Bethesda software, which is grouped in now with Microsoft and Activision, of course. They're lumped into that. In that market anyway. I was thinking about some games recently, and I was going through my library, and the PS5 doesn't let you make folders, but you can put things in like little groups of games. And I kept thinking about some of my games, and I have an extensive library, 750 plus titles. It occurred to me that a lot of these big developers, Ubisoft, Activision, EA, also publishers. Square Enix is slowly kind of turning into that with a lot of their failed IPs lately, which is why I think it's timely they put out a new Final Fantasy. The demo's live. Check it out. It's pretty cool. But let's talk about what this table talk's about. And this is about how these companies are charging you and I $70 for a new game with tax, like $73.59 or something like that, or $73.19, whatever it is. But it's nearly $74 for a brand new game. And instead of giving us a game that is complete, now the game may have a start and a middle and an end, but it's not complete. And I'm not necessarily just harping on live service here. What I'm talking about is these companies sit around in these board meetings and trying to figure, and they talk about it, and if you look at a lot of the marketing of the games, it's like they show you and tell you things of what the game is going to be 2 years from now, 3 years from now. That's the marketing. We're selling you a product, a game, that's essentially what we're selling you is what the game is going to be like if you buy it and stick with it versus now. Now, a lot of people, if you think about that for a moment, let's look at Fallout 76. And yes, it was a bug-ridden mess. And yes, the creation engine's about 35 years old at this point, and they should never have used that engine, their proprietary engine, because it's so old and been modded so extreme, right, that it's not even functioning half the time. But I firmly believe that Fallout 76's intention was always marketing and selling the game how it was going to be now. It took almost 3 years, and there's NPCs, and the game is loaded with content and stuff in microtransactions on 9 yards, but that's how the game was marketed to us. If you go back and look at some of the stuff that they were showing, some of that stuff didn't show up for a while. I mean, like a great long while. And I feel like that's what they did. It was worse than just a standard bait and switch. I have an entire video on the bait and switch from a few years ago. Check that out on the channel. It should be under JuiceMan3941, my old PSN tag. The thing that's weird is that I believe that Bethesda always intended to add NPCs to the game at some point. They added them, but they never just came out and said, hey, we're going to add these NPCs because you all demanded it. Not that I can recall or remember them having some long conversation about it. They said, hey, we're going to add NPCs to the game. They did say that, but I believe that it was always their intention to do so. And they were selling us the game that we have now back then. And it's not right for these companies to do that. They sit around in a board meeting and they're thinking, hey, how do we get the longevity out of our games? Now, when I was growing up in the 8-bit era and the 16-bit era, game companies like Konami and Capcom and Enix and Squaresoft and different companies that were producing games, the big companies out there, they had to make 8, 9, 10 games a year to sustain them. But now with the avenue of live services and microtransactions and the whole 9 yards, they really only need one hit. One really big, massive hit that people will just support. And that will sustain them for a while. And if they get 2 or 3 of those going like that, they're set until and that gives them time to develop other stuff. But the games are being marketed to us how they're going to be. We buy it now, but they're being marketed what they are going to be in the future, as long as you stick with it. I feel like it's deceptive to do that. Someone could say, well, didn't Hello Games do that? And you love No Man's Sky. I've been playing No Man's Sky since vanilla No Man's Sky. Sean Murray is a lying sack of snake feces. And there are people who argue with me and say, well, this is what he fully intended the game to be. No. If your answer to a question that's a yes or no answer and you say yes, and it's not in at launch, and I've discussed this on the channel before, you lied. That's a lie. That is a flat lie, because it was not in there 6 months later. It was in there 2.5 years later. You lied. But my point is, they went dark. They marketed the game how I believe they felt it was going to be, and we all know the marketing was a lie. They showed us stuff that was not actually looks anything like the game, and so that's a whole nother can of worms there. But I will harp on them a little bit because they did kind of market it in the way that it's going to be. But at least they went dark and never said another word and just slowly updated it, and it became this awesome spacing MMO that a bunch of people play. And it's just unlimited possibility game where you can play it for hours and feel like you've done nothing. It's great, but I love it. I love it. But games like Activision and stuff, people could say, well, they published Diablo, and Diablo's a pretty complete game. It kind of has to be because it's an RPG. RPGs need to be complete, a start, a middle, and end. They can't market the game and have so bare bones in it, nobody will play it. But a lot of the games are coming out by developers, and they're not just the only ones, but that are coming out, and we are shown things, and we see things of how the game is going to be. Now, they don't specifically come out and say, hey guys, in 3 years, this is what you're going to be playing. They just kind of say, hey, we got this roadmap, we got these things coming. They don't tell you when, they don't tell you where, or when it's going to happen. But go ahead and buy our game now, please. Go ahead and buy it now. But if the game fails, like a Babylon's Fall, which now you can never play again. But if a game comes out and they're marketing to us as how it's going to be 2-3 years from now, they even sometimes show us things that are years out. And you buy it, or I buy it, or we all generally collectively buy it, and it doesn't do well at launch and it doesn't sell well, that company half the time, 50% of the time, if not 80% of the time says, fuck it, we're not going to do anything. Well, now you have my money. And you marketed it to me as a long-term thing. But because not enough people bought it, we had to pay for that. It's not right or fair. I look at Anthem as a big part of that. And yes, we know about Jason Schreier and the mismanagement stuff and all those things that happened. But and they're not sure what direction they want to take. But when you go into Anthem now, it's still open and still playable. There's some people who still play it. I still play it occasionally. Because the flying and the combat's great still. There's all these weapon types that they never added. But the template was already added in an update when Cataclysm came out. And those weapons are not there. And we'll never see them. And some of them, like the names of them are cool. But again, I feel that Anthem was marketed as such. I also feel, and they even talked about 4 other Javelins coming that we never saw, and just on and on. And they marketed it as such. I think Destiny did that too. And I've always said that the only reason that people continued to play the first Destiny when they haven't did a whole lot to it, and I think the first expansion was kind of weak, and I still stand by that statement. I do feel like it was kind of weak and was way too short, a couple hours worth of stuff outside the raid. I feel that, again, that was another game that they looked in the long term, which they did have long term. They were upfront and said, hey, we hope for the next 10 years, but that's why it was so bare bones. We had to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and stick with it. And it was its gunplay, which was some of the best and still is in the first-person shooter genre, that holds it up. But if that game had not really good shooting, it was just kind of mediocre, we probably never would have saw it too. But I'm kind of tired of spending $70 on a game, and I'm like, well, this is not complete. I got to wait and see what they do with it. Avengers, yes, a live service game, but that fell short. I talked about we didn't need another Hawkeye or a female version of Thor. What we needed is Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. Or add Daredevil. Add anybody. Not almost identical characters. Because Jane Foster Thor even has some of the same specials. Come on. And combos. And she literally is like the same. Now, I went in and changed her to her Valkyrie armor to make it seem like it's a different character. And, of course, Kate Bishop and Hawkeye, who are so similar in the movesets and stuff, they didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do that. But games that are being marketed to us how they are going to be in the future is so deceptive to me and so wrong. But they all do it. Ubisoft does it. Look at Rainbow Six Siege when it first came out versus today. It's great today. It was okay at launch. It was fun, but bare bones. Because they did market it to us in a way that made you go, hey, this is going to be amazing. No, it was going to be amazing 2 or 3 years. And if you look at the Fallout 76 or Siege or EA, some of the stuff they publish, some of the stuff that Ubisoft, all of them are Activision. It's always like that 2 year to 3 year period where the game gets good finally. Now, interestingly enough, I don't lump people like Capcom into it. Like Monster Hunter World was a huge success for them. They revitalized Resident Evil. They added some add-ons, but those games were complete. Monster Hunter World is complete. There's a start, a beginning, and a middle. They didn't market it as, all they said is, hey, we got an expansion coming later, and that's it. But the game was playable. And what I got now, that I bought nearly 4 years ago, is the exact same game that it is now that it was then. It has changed with the expansion, obviously, but other than that, that's it. It's the same game. I bought Elite Dangerous Horizons. They have updated it and added quality of life improvements. More or less, it's the same game. On the indie scene, those companies are smaller. They don't have the same amount of money, so they kind of have to do that. They can't market it as like, oh, here's Rebel Galaxy, but we're going to show you what it's going to be like 3. No, the game was finished and complete. I don't want to spend $70 anymore on any game ever again. I have a lot of indie titles because I don't have to worry about that at all whatsoever. They're complete. I don't have to worry about a giant company trying to figure out how can we maximize our profits over the next 2 or 3 years with this one game or 2 or 3 games we're publishing, so that but we have to market it that way. There's no way anybody would have bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because it's much better now, even though it was a very large, insanely 80, 90-hour game. But there's a whole nother can of worms with Ubisoft's open world formula. But no one would have bought those games at launch had they said, well, we're kind of only going to give you the bare minimum, but if you stick with us, you're going to see a lot of cool stuff down the road. Nobody would do that. That's like going to the car dealership. We're going to give you a car, it's got wheels and some seats, but later on, it'll have air conditioning and heat and heated seats and airbags, and it's going to be this awesome car. But we're going to sell it to you as if that's what it has now, when it really doesn't. Nobody would buy any fucking cars. The gaming industry is the only gaming industry that sells a product for consumers, that can just willfully and blatantly lie and false advertise, which there are laws, federal laws against that, and no one ever sues them for false advertisement. It almost never happens, and they get away with it. And they get away with it with the loophole of, oh, no, it's a game, but, we can add stuff later. It's insane to me to think that that is what happens. Let me have a sip of my beer here real quick. And that's good. Sweet. I don't know. Once, I've been drinking Steel Reserve real quick for the past probably 4 years. And the first time I had it, I was like, ugh, like it was awful. But I've gotten so used to it. I love the sweetness of it. A lot of people don't like it. It's something about it. It's just this delicious, cheap beer. Don't ask. It's weird, right? I mean, I'll take a bourbon barrel ale over it any day of the week, but for cheap, I love it. But I digress. Getting back to what I was saying, it's not right for us to be marketed to that way, which is why I believe Redfall is the way it is. Everybody says, well, how? Because Arcane Studios made like Dark Messiah, Might and Magic, which is actually a pretty good game back in the day. It was one of my favorites. And Dishonored and Dishonored 2 and the stuff they made and Prey, it's awesome. Why did Redfall? Because Microsoft was probably like, hey guys, make this game, We're going to market this cool stuff, but that's what you need to put in later. Because this is a long-term thing for us. We want people to play Redfall for the next 2 or 3 years. That's why it's shit. And it bit them in the ass. And because people start realizing not only is it buggy and stuff, but launch it now, fix it later, and market it like how it's going to be. And that's what they did. And now we probably will never see it completed. We'll never see any of that stuff ever. And I think that's a problem. Because if you drop 70 on it, or even if you pay for Game Pass and got it, the point is, they done fucked it up, like Angry Joe would say. How you doing, Joe? And you can't do that. I cannot no longer, in good faith, ever, for any reason, buy an EA published game, an Ubisoft published game, a Activision published game, unless it's Diablo, obviously. But that's Blizzard. Activision's the publisher. Blizzard developed it. Blizzard has a pretty good track record. And I can't, Bethesda. I hate trying to say that word. Bethesda, or whatever. I can't, in good faith, buy anything they ever put out. EA, Ubisoft, and Activision. I just can't. I can't. Because I know now that's what they're doing. They're showing us the potential of the game. That's what they're selling to us now. We buy it and we go, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll stick with it and hopefully it'll get better. Wow, right? No, fuck you. I can buy, this or that. I'll give EA credit, recent published game by them, but my boys at Omega Force and Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja, whatever, made Wild Hearts. It's stellar. It's a great Monster Hunter game, and it's complete. They might publish it, but I know how Omega Force operates and how they probably told EA, we ain't putting this out early. Go fuck yourself. And they didn't. And EA's got a big hit on their hands for once. So I give them that. Respawn's giving us good stuff, and that's an EA blanketed thing. But when the EA develops something like your Maddens and things like that, no, it's shit. It's awful. And Ubisoft, like I said, I own so much by them because they make really great games. And if you were to ask me, as much as I love Far Cry, as much as I love, different things they publish, and not all, but some of the Assassin's Creeds, I would say the best thing they ever made, developed, published, was Starlink, Battle for Atlas, because it was complete. They tried to do the toys thing, it didn't work, but when the game came out, you could do it digitally, you didn't have to buy any of the toys. They made that game is exactly as a start, a middle, a finish. They didn't market it like this is what Starlink's going to be like 2 or 3 years from now. It's a great space game. My God, it's fantastic. I love the game. I loved it enough. I bought it on the Switch as well, not just because of the Star Fox stuff. I just love the game, having it portable. But yes, that's where I'm at with these fucking games by these companies. Stop marketing the game to me as it's going to be. Just be upfront about it. But you know what? They're never going to be upfront about it. But I'm going to leave you all with this thought. The next time you see one of the big AAA companies, putting a game out that's coming out in a few months or maybe next year or whatever, do yourself a service and look when they're marketing it to you and when they're advertising it. Make sure that they're not showing you things what it's going to be like. And don't fall for it either. Don't buy it out of the gate because they want you to, and they are lying to you. This has been Gaming Roundtable Table Talk episode for June 18, 2023. This episode is brought to you by Unpaid Gamers. Please subscribe to Posthuman Guy. He's got some car thoughts for you and some Let's Plays and streams going on. Please tune into and still subscribe to him, even though he's not really doing a whole lot, but his videos are still stellar. Those Apex Legends videos are great. The man, the myth, the Apex Legends himself, Ban Loss. And check out me, the People's Machine. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Gaming Roundtable. And before I go and do my catch line at the end, as I've always done, I want to talk to you and say if you would like to email me some questions, some thoughts, some comments, you can reach me at GamingRoundtableUPG at gmail.com. That's GamingRoundtableUPG at gmail.com. And as always, gamers, good gaming.